Okay, so we're going to talk learning a little bit. Unfortunately, Rabbi Kleiman is still in the airplane with some schedule challenges. So we will hear from him tomorrow, and Hashem. And so I'm going to discuss a little bit about this sugya, maybe not step a little bit away from halach l'maisa or anything that maybe he'll talk about, and maybe just discuss a little bit the inyan. Just before we start, I want to say the shir and learning is as a refuah shlema for Peretz ben Chayat Dvar Leah, as we mentioned earlier. So there's let's just give two simple examples that may not be the best examples, but examples of where the sugya mamish can come up every day. As I'm walking in, so someone asks me a question. I'm like, I hope you're staying for the shir. I mean, this is mamish. It's unbelievable. So what was this shaila? Shaila was that he hired somebody he was up north, for the summer, and he hired someone to drive down his car. And the car was delivered before Shabbos. He was rushing, and this morning he's getting into his car, and he notices that the whole side of the car is all scratched and maybe a little dented or whatever. So there was hezek to the car. So clearly the driver had hit something, so I guess the shaila is that can he hold back the payment from the driver? I don't want to pay the driver. I'm going to fix the car, and if there's money left over, then I'll pay them, because they're not going to want to pay for the hezek. So I said, okay, that's the topic. Is a person allowed to of it in nishdil and afshe? That's the perfect example of this shaila. So I wanted to maybe today we'll just give a little bit background. Like I said, there's many cases and shilas and parameters, and I don't want to get into that because we're going to leave that for Rabbi Kleiman. But first of all, the Olam saw the Gemara. So there's a few cases in the Gemara. So let's just read the very first one just to learn together the Gemara. So the Gemara said that there's some knossos over here that Chazal made, that if you hit someone in a certain way, or if your animal does, etc. So they made knossos. And Rav Chisda was seemingly goy for the kanas. So the question is, the Dayanim asked him, why are you doing that? So what was the story? There was like a water source that belonged to two people. Every day, it was one person's turn to take the water. So one of them took on the day that was not his. Why are you taking it? It's mine. And he kept on taking the water. Shakal punda demar machi, and he hit him. So the person whose day it was hit the person who was taking the water shaloi b'shus to get him away from the water. Amalei mea pandi b'pundi l'machie. He's allowed to do that, even 100 times more. Even if in general you're not allowed to do dina l'nafshe, but makam pseida oven in dina l'nafshe. But over here it's a pseida. Why is it a pseida? Because if he takes the water, there's not going to be any water left. That means the Gemara is saying that a person is allowed to take the law into his own hands, to collect what's coming to him. And this Gemara is talking even to hit the other, even to do some sort of literally like physically hit the other person. I don't want to discuss that at all. It's really another inyan. But let's just say he's allowed to make sure that he gets what's coming to him. And because there's a pseida, if he doesn't do it, he'll lose. So the poskim say, what's a pseida? Pseida is this case where if the one who's taking the water shaloi kedin takes the water, there won't be any water left for the person who really has the schus to the water. Or there could be other cases. Maybe there's an item that belongs to you, and somebody else somehow has it, and he's using it up, or he's going to spend it, or he's going to sell it, or he's going to get rid of it. It's going to be hard to collect, or he doesn't have money. There could be other examples of pseida. So when there's a pseida, the halach is of it inish dina l'nafshe. The person is allowed to do dina l'nafshe. The machlokes between the Amoraim is, what about when there's no pseida? There's no pseida. Why? So if there's no pseida, what's the issue? The issue is you could really go to Beis Din and have Beis Din collect it for you. You're not going to lose anything necessarily by going to the Beis Din. But the kivin to bedin avid loy tarach, he's not mechuyev to go through the tircha of litigating in Beis Din. That's the machlokes. Now we paskin, like Rav Nachman, we paskin that a person is allowed to even when there's no pseida. So the question is what's the sugya all about? What's the question here in the lumdus of the sugya? Why would you be allowed to? Why wouldn't you be allowed to? What's the shaila here? I mean, the money belongs to you. You're not over Geneva, Zela. It's money that belongs to you. It's coming to you. So what's the shaila? Why would you be allowed to? Why wouldn't you be allowed to? So there's three basic mahalchin in understanding the sugya, I think. There's one is based on the Gemara a little later, which is from Michel Rozovsky. He writes it because it's a whole sugya in Bava Basra about if Beis Din can collect tzedakah. So if a person made a neder of tzedakah, can the Beis Din force the person to give the tzedakah? And the Gemara says he could. Why? Because if he doesn't do it, he's over a lois aseh. Outs the mitzvahs essay, ain't koifen ala mitzvahs. We can't force people to do mitzvahs. But here, if he pledged something and he doesn't do it, he's over a lav, and the Beis Din is allowed to also afrushim me'isura. So afrushim me'isura means he's separating someone from doing an isur. Beis Din is allowed to protect people from being over isurim. So Beis Din is permitted to protect people from doing isurim, and therefore they're even allowed to force the person to pay his pledge, even though it's only a mitzvah. So he has Rabbi Shmuel Rozovsky wants to say that really Ovid Inish Dila Nafshe, the sugya is that miyuchat to Beis Din? Only Beis Din is allowed to do that? Or even I, as a regular citizen, I'm also permitted. I see somebody doing an isser, so the din is I'm allowed to be mafresh him me'isura. I'm allowed to stop him from doing an isser. So if the isser he's doing is geneva, I'm allowed to stop him from doing the geneva, make sure that he doesn't do it. So to collect the money and take it. And therefore, he's to protect him from doing sales. He's very altruistic here, making sure no one's doing any yisurim, and he's being mafresh me'isura. That's the lumdus of the sugya according to Rabbi Shmuel.
So in that case, you'd be able to do it for someone else also?
Oh, not only that, it's better if it's from someone else, according to this pshat. Right, because so very good. So he proves it from exactly that point from the Gemara. The Gemara, it's actually, like I said, I think the sources were given by Rabbi Kleiman, what he's going to talk about. So what I'm talking about is the part of the sugya he didn't tell you to look at. I'm not talking about the law. I want to talk about this part. So it's actually the next piece of Gemara, right after after the bold part. There's the next piece. So the next piece says, "Minayin lenirtza tashema." It's on Chav Ches page 2 in the pamphlet, and it's right after the bold part. So it says, "Tashma minayin lenirtza shekolu lo yamav, v'raboy mesarev boy lotzes, v'chavav asa boy chabur shu patas." So a person has an eved. He wants to get their eved out of his house already. He freed the eved, and the eved is sticking around, and he wants to push him out of the house. And he ended up pushing him so hard that he caused a chavala to the eved. Does he have to pay for the chavala or not? He pushed him out. He physically pushed him out of the house. So the Gemara says, you're potter. So you see that you're allowed to take the din into your own hands. He has to leave, and you push them out, and you're potter. So it says the Gemara, no, maybe he was a ganv, so it's a pseida. He's stealing every day. I have to push him out of my house. I'm allowed. So the Gemara says, that can't be. Oh, so for the Gemara kasha, all of a sudden now he became a ganav. The day that you kick him out, I mean, he was in your house for many years, and now you kick him out. Now he became a ganav now. So the Gemara says maybe really he was a ganav the whole time, but he was afraid to steal because he had a job. But hashta, now you let him go. Less laim said the rabbi. He's not afraid of his master anymore. He may start stealing from you, so you can kick him out. That's one pshat. Then the Gemara says another pshat. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar be'evet shemasalei rabbi shivcha knainis. He was married to a shivcha. A person, a master is allowed to marry his eved off to a shivcha. But once he frees him, he's no longer allowed to stay married to the shivcha. And this eved wanted to continue his relationship with the shivcha. So he's allowed to kick him out of the house. Why? So he's allowed because he's being mafreshim me'isura. He's not al avad inish dil nafshe. It's because he's being mafreshim from iser. He's protecting him from doing an iser. So Rashi says a lashon. If you look at the Rashi says isura, right? It's like across from where it's bold. So this is the point you were making, Josh. Isura v'rashai lahal koisoi. You could give him malchus afrisha. The high dina lav lenafshehu. I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for him. It's the opposite. When what?
We're saying where Yehuda's later.
No, because he's saying it's right, but he's saying it's only because there it's not neged to me. He's saying since it's not lenafshe, it's mutter. But if it would be lenafshe, it would be if it would be an issa. If it's neged lenafshe, then it would be subject to the sugya of avadinish. That's how he's learning. He's doing Dak Rashi. He's saying when it's an issa, it's not neged to me. He's free. It's just his own thing. That's lav lenafshe. Fakir. It's worse if it's lanafshe. It's right. So if it's an issa neged to me, that's where it's a problem. That's how he wants to learn the Gemara. But others, pashup shot. That's his chiddush. Okay. But that's one pshat. But let's go into the other pshatim of the Rosh and then Muki Yosef. What are the parameters? Let's remember this case that we talked about before with the hezek to the car. So what's the what are the parameters of this whole din? Because really, if this halacha gets out of hand, then everyone's going to start taking money from everybody, and everyone's going to think they're right? Obviously, there's a reason why you have to go to a din. And how often is it that when two people go to a din, obviously both people think they're right, and in reality only one of them is right, or neither is right, pashtus. Right? There's always, like we said, there's always three sides to the story: his side, Reuben's side, Shim's side, and the truth. So l'chara, neither one is right. So how could someone be ovid inish dina lanafshe because he thinks that the person owes him money? Right? So how could there just be this type of halacha that you can be ovid inish dina lanafshe? So what are the parameters of this? Now you could say, like we said a second ago, maybe the havamina why you wouldn't be allowed to is because of that. You don't know he owes you the money. But there's going to be more to it than that. So the over here, we start off with the Nimuki Yosef. Is the next page 3. So the Nimuki Yosef says, page 3. I think it's the next page after the Gemara. It's not on the side where it's bold. And on the other side, the Nimuki Yosef says, it's on the side of the Rif. So on the opposite side of the bowl, not just the Rif, he said, the Nimuki Yosef says, it's only something, you cannot go collect debt based on this halacha. It's only something which is be'en. It's only a specific item which you know belongs to you, and you see it by him, you're allowed to go take it back. So let's say the case of the water. There's water. It's my water. So I want to make sure I get the water. So you're allowed to push him aside to get the water. But let's say the guy would have already taken the water. Now you want to go in and take the cash value of the water that he stole from you. You can't do that anymore. According to Muki Yosef. According to Muki Yosef, it's only when it's mamish be'en. Okay, that's how he's learning.
What if money is the item itself?
Okay, so it's the same wad of cash. Yeah, okay, so maybe. Latzuli miyada deheich the boy lemigzalei. Aval heich the lesle lememoina be'ein ela afri the kaboy afri malva mine lesle reshus lemevadina lenafshe. So the Muki Yosef says it cannot be that you're collecting debt, and l'chara the pshat is obvious because collecting debt always requires a din udvarim. It's never so pashut. Who owes you what? This is your item. It's mine. Period. End of story. So then that's clear. But if it's debt, then he's saying you can't do that. However, if you look in the Rosh, which is the next page, the Rosh seems to be mashma that as long as you have a clear proof that would work in Beis Din that he owes you the money, it can't just be look, it's obvious. Come on. No, you have to be a pretty big Talmid Chacham to go ahead and do this because you have to know that the proof that you have the proof that you have would be enough to convince Beis Din to prove in Beis Din that you're right. Now, a lot of times, most things that people think is proof is not proof in Bezdin. Proof in Bezdin is two Eidim, basically, or something, or a star.
Doesn't really exist now.
That's what I'm saying. So,
What you think is going to hold water might not.
Correct.
You make up stock to begin with.
right. So let's say the case that we just started off with in the car, maybe.
The whole thing's not negated. You should always just say maybe you're wrong, and if you can't do it, the whole thing is irrelevant.
Right.
Having the case of the plaintiffs.
Right.
It's not what I'm saying.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The case is the case of the water. It's my day. We made up an agreement in a star that this is my day, this is your day. You're coming and taking away my thing. So that's clear. But this case of the hezek with the car, right? So I don't know, maybe it's a grandma. Maybe the person you got a car. It was 1,000 miles that the person gave back. Who knows? Maybe they.
Anymore. The car is only the value of the
I'm saying, but you can't hold back the money. That was the question. According to the, you can't do that. You have no proof that they owe you the money. There's a lot of reasons, a lot of things that could happen that would make it that they're putter from paying. Maybe they didn't even do it, first of all. But even if they did, maybe it's a groma, maybe it's this. There's a lot of things that in din they wouldn't be chayiv. So it's pashut that you can't go ahead and be ovid inish dilun l'nafshei. Now, maybe what you could do is you could tell the person, I'm not paying you until we go to a dayan and find out what the halach is, because that.
Even though you have an agreement that you're going to pay when you get back to the car.
I'm saying maybe that you, I don't know if that's avidinish dinish l'nafshei. That's that maybe that you're allowed to do. I'm not sure. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's baltolin.
The guy who's driving the car, what din does he have? What is it?
I'm not getting involved in that case. I'm not getting involved in that specific. But the point is, you have no idea what really happened, right? So, and there was another case also, just this week. Someone did work for someone else, and let's say Reuven did work for Shimon, and Shimon, they did it, they had their team produce something for them, and they brought them their product. And it was like developing some sort of online internet, whatever it was, some sort of website. So they delivered them the product, and their team worked on it and delivered it, and the customer didn't like it. Shimon didn't like it. This is not what we discussed. Reuven says it is exactly what we discussed, and I'm delivering it, and you owe me the money. Now they have a constant, they do other things for them. So he says, look, he owes me the money. So on the other stuff that I do for him, I'm going to charge him more, and to make up for the difference, he's not paying me for the job that he did for me, right? So again, he thinks that he's chayiv. He thinks he's potter. There's no clear. I don't know that either side has a real raya if he's chayiv to pay him or not. And so you don't have a raya according to the Rosh, you can't do it.
Well, does anybody put Makam Seder if this whole Rosh actually says about Makam Seder?
You're saying, well, Seder means it's Vadei Seder.
Yeah, if Seder's going to have it,
Uh-huh.
has it right?
Well.
Looking off the ground. When the Rosh is that you can't be the dying.
Right. So I still need the lom. Is this everyone agrees? It's okay. So let's get to maybe when we get to the point. Okay. So Lemaisa there's a machlokes though. If you have proof that he owes you the money, according to the Rosh, you can go and take the cash, even if it's not bad. According to the Milk Yosef, there's no such sugya unless it's the item itself that you discussed. So that could happen by let's say someone. So you gave. It could happen by like a landlord and tenant. It could be that the landlord will take possession of something that belongs to the tenant, and then the tenant wants to take it back or something like that. So what's the pshat over here? What's this machlokes? So l'chayra, the machlokes is like this. Really, the reason why there's a chiddush of avin inish din l'nafshei is because it's when someone once pasha person cannot go into someone else's rishus and take it's their money. If Reuven has money, Shimon cannot go take Reuven's money, no matter what. It's Reuven's money, and it's in his rishus. Shimon has no jurisdiction over Reuven's rishus. Okay, only Beis Din Only Beis Din has the authority to go into other people's rishus and transfer money from one to the other. One person has no rishus over the other person's. He has no din over or jurisdiction at all over the other person's money. So the whole chiddush here is that you have to somehow utilize the power of Beis Din as an individual. That's the chiddush of this halacha. So the question is, how are you utilizing the power of the Beis Din as an individual? You're not a Beis Din, you're an individual. So if you look in the Rambam, in page 5, the Rambam's lashon is, Yesh la'adam la'asais din la'atzmoi. A person is allowed to do a din for himself. Im yesh biyadei koyach, if he has the power, hoyel kedasu kehalacha oisa, like the Rosh, he's much like the Rosh. As long as he's doing kedasu kehalacha, he has the proof, he's doing kehalacha, einoi chayiv litroyach v'lava lebeis din. He doesn't have to come into Beis Din. V'af al pi shelo haya sham hefsid ben nechasav, even without a pseida. Nisacher, but he doesn't want to spend the time. Lefikach, therefore, im kibel alav baldinoi ve'aviu lebeis din, v'darshu umatzu she'asu kehalacha, v'dan emes, v'din emes dan la'atzma. He did a real din. Ein soisrin es dinoi. We don't uproot his psak halacha, his din. It sounds like from the Rambam that the idea is that on your own things, if it's clear and you have proof, you could become a dayan and paskin the shaila for yourself. So you're ki'ilu like your own Beis Din. So you can make a din on this. So once you can make a din on it, you have the right to go in and take his stuff. Because the lumdis according to the Rambam is you're like your own dayan. You're like your own dayan. So just like a dayan has a jurisdiction over someone else's stuff, on with negiyah to me, I could be a dayan and go into his property and take it. And therefore, as long as it's clear proof that the Beis Din would do like that, I could also be the Beis Din. But you have to have proof, and it has to be clear proof that it can't just be. In other words, what I'm saying is, let's say let's take another step further. Let's say it is clear, and you know the truth, and you know that he's 100% lying, and and you're right. You taka right klape shmaya, but since you can't prove it in Beis Din, you're not allowed to do it. It's not just because maybe you're lying. It's not just because maybe you're wrong. Maybe you're negeh b'davar. Even if you're 100% right, and even in Shemayim you're right, but you're not a dayan, right? You have to have, because Beis Din wouldn't be able to prove this, wouldn't be able to do this, so you can't do it. It's only something that Beis Din can do because you have proof. Then you can do it for yourself. That's the Rambam and the Rosh's pshat. But
he's the isha, her husband. Husband's considered her.
yeah, so why are you allowed to do it for someone else? Mustama, yeah, that's the whole sugya. Okay, but the Nemuki Yosef is going with a different lumdis, which is that Gemara that Rabbi Subar just mentioned. The Gemara on the bottom of the page has a tashma over there. It's a pasuk in the Chumash about if the wife sees that her husband is getting beat up and she wants to get involved and she's mazik the other person. So the shaila is, if she's mazik the person who's being mazik her husband, she has to pay. The Katsoy says kappa, she has to pay. So the Gemara says it's only talking about a case that she could have saved the husband without being mazik the other guy. So since she went out of line, so that's why she's chayiv. Okay. So the Gemara says there says but the Gemara says shulcha yada prat l'shleach Beis Din. Sounds like only a shleach Beis Din is allowed to do this, and not the isha, even if there's no other way to do it. So that sounds like pretty clear that she's not allowed to do it, even if that's her only way of saving the husband. So the Gemara says no. She, at the end, the last line of the Gemara, it's like 8 lines from the bottom of the thin lines. She says, "Aval eina yachoy lahatzay de'davach and nasa yoda k'shliach Beis Din uptur." She's like the shliach Beis Din. So according to the Mukhi Yosef, it's not that you become a dayan; you become like a shliach Beis Din. So it's only you can't paskin the shaila, but if that doesn't require a psak, then you could act as a shliach Beis Din to collect the money. So according to the Rambam and the Rosh, you could actually make a psak, but it has to be something that you can make a psak on. According to the Mukhi Yosef, you can't make a psak, but you could be a shliach of Beis Din. It's kilu doesn't need a psak, doesn't need Beis Din. So this is something which is so clear, says in the Mukhi Yosef, like it's your item. You don't need a psak for that. So it's obvious. So Memela, all it requires is a shliach Beis Din to go collect that you're allowed to do. So this is l'chayra the sugya. So according to Shmuel Rozovsky, it's more like afrushe mi'isura, something like that. But according to what sounds like from the Rishonim, it sounds like Pshat in the sugya is that in order to get involved in someone else's money, someone else's shus, you need to come onto the koach of bezdin. The question is, how far do we give an individual the right to act as a bezdin? According to the Rosh and the Rambam, you can even paskin like a bezdin, but you need good proof, solid proof, and then you're allowed to do it. And according to the Nimuk Yosef, you could act as a shliach of bezdin on something that does not require a psak, and therefore it's only if the item is be'en, or it's only if something is mamish right there. Okay? Now, there's two. I'm not going to go the whole time. I'm going to mention two more. I think, by the way, these 2 days are brought in the Ramah. The Rosh and the Nimuk Yosef are both mentioned in the Ramah in Siman Daled and Chosh Mishpat, which is on page 9. It's actually page 10, but it says there. What's on the bottom of page 9? So the Shulchan Aruch paskins this halacha. In Shulchan Aruch, he says, "Yachal adam lasas din la'atzma." You could take the din into your hands if you see the item that imroye shaloi biyad acher shegozloi yachal lakachta miyada. You're allowed to. The Ramah says, "V'yeshoyim davka b'choyvei mamish avim chayev loy b'loy halva or she'in tzarich l'mashkenoi ki ukvar etzel b'pikodoin mutal tavs yeshom delamin avin nishnav shak b'chev tzamavur loy shu shaloi." So he seems like he's bringing two sheets. It's the Rosh and the Nimuk Yosef, whether it's by any chayiv borer, clear debt, or is it only by when the item is right here? Okay. So there's two other cases, which I don't believe that he's gonna speak about. So I'll discuss it. One is a little. I don't want to. Again, this sugya could get like out of hand very quickly, but just there is a shaila in the poiskim. It starts from the Yam Shel Shloima, and then there's tshuvas all the way down to Igros. Moshe has tshuvas about it, which is that if I'm allowed to take the din into my own hands, so what's the problem? Last year, at this, I think it was either at the Yarchei Kallah or maybe later in the year, we had a whole shir about going to Arkois, going to secular court. So why can't you? If I'm allowed to take the din in my own hands, so why can't I go to secular court for them to take the din? Why can't I use a secular court, the Arkois, as my shliach to be avin l'nafshe? I can't use the court, okay, but I can do it myself, and they're stronger than me. So obviously we're talking about you have to still go back. When is it what to do avin l'nafshe? So either by a choiv bar, and I have enough proof, and I have enough proof that the bezin would award me the money. Now again, how do you know that? You have to be a pretty big Talmid Chacham to get to that point. So once but
it needs to be the only way to get your money. You go to bezin.
Right. So the Shulchan Aruch, so therefore the Yam Shel Shlomo says Avadi not allowed to lechatchila, probably because of that. Because once, like the Gemara says, by the Isha, it has to be that was your only eitzah. If you go to Bezdin and get it, so then you're not allowed to be Avad in Nafshe. But if you did, can you keep the money? But that we said already then, that if the money you're awarded in court is not coming to you in din, the money that you're awarded in court is not coming to you in din, is gezel. So therefore, anyway, you're not allowed to keep the money. And if the money the question is, let's say the money you're awarded in court is coming to you in din, can you keep the money? It's this. So it's definitely usher to do it because, like you're saying, you can go to the bezdin to do it. Why are you just being lazy? Or whatever. Oh, so there's a lot of other isurim. So l'chara, that's what I'm saying. The shaila wasn't l'chatchila. The shaila was only b'diavad, and read the lashon in Igros Moshe. He says. B'davar ganav sheganav sefer Torah. He stole a sefer Torah from the shul. In mutter lemoiser la'arkois, to get it back. The only way to do it is, so he's talking about over there. He says you're not allowed lemaisa because they're going to punish him more than what the din is mechayev anyway. They're going to give him jail time and all this stuff that there's no punishment for that. But I guess if the guy stole the sefer Torah, he wasn't going to come to bezdin. I'm assuming. So. Okay, but that's one nafkamina of this whole sugya. There's another very, very interesting nafkamina. We mentioned before that there's two sugyas. There's a sugya of Oven Nishdil and Nafshe, and there's a sugya of Afrushe Me'isura. There's a sugya that you're allowed to maybe physically stop someone from doing Yisura. So the Poiskim asks, there's an uvda of a story of in the Sefer Maisa Ish, which is like 6 chalakim biography on the Chazon Ish. So it says over there a story that Reb Chaim Kanievsky said to the author of that biography that that the Chazon Ish was told that there's a certain person that has in their house Sifrei Kfira, and what should they do about it? So Chazon Ish said, go into his house and burn the books. He's not allowed to have them. So he said, why? Because he's Afrusha Me'isura. Now, that means that if the person's holding by an Isser, so it's not Dina L'Nafshe, like we were in the Rashi, so could be you're allowed to go ahead and do that. Now, where does this come up? So that back in Bnei Brak in those Chazon Ish's time, the Shiloh was Sifrei Kfira. But nowadays, a lot of people have shilos like in schools and things like this, when a person can have a device that's mazik others. They could have something which is a sakana for other people, for other kids in the class or whatever. So someone that's afraid that they're going to get nizik from this thing, can they be ovid in nafshi and take it away? So the Rebbe sees that one of the kids in the class has this, and then he's afraid if he shares it with the other kids in the class, he'll never be able to teach anybody ever again, because then the kid can't learn if he has any of this stuff. So he's afraid he's not going to be able. So Avin Dilan Avshe, he wants to take it away. I guess it's not in the school handbook, because if it's a school handbook, then you're coming out that the school's allowed to take it away. But Stamazai, he wants to come and do it. So basically it's two parts. One is he's hurting himself, and one is he's hurting the other kids. Also hurting himself, so it's Afrusha Misura. Outside he's hurting the others, it's Avad Inish Dila Nafshe. So is that mutter or not? So then we could ask Rabbi Kleiman tomorrow what he thinks about that. Okay. Go ahead.
What time tomorrow?
Same time.
I was wondering.
I really want to do it. I'm using a double car meaning I would, or am I supposed to think about? How far is the terminal going? How much is the terminal going? And there's no other way besides this, so it has to go to medicine. So how far does that take up the